So, welcome to Tibble's Apprentice Luck of the Draw. Um, let's just get into the episode instead of talking about anything else. So, I had threatened, I had offered, I had said that I was going to talk about my Kaalia the Vast deck. What I'm doing is taking advantage of the fact that the new set is on its way out. Being released. Anyhow, and so it's time to upgrade those decks. I mentioned that I've got 20 some odd decks. They're all living decks, though. They are ones that I play, whereas a lot of times people would take a deck, put it away, put it on the back shelf. I do believe in upgrading them and cycling through them and using them, though I'm not getting a chance to use them as often as I would like. Damn COVID. Anyhow, in the meantime, I thought I would turn it over to you and see what suggestions you've had. So far, I've had some really good suggestions on the decks that we've put up in the past year, whether those be the Analia deck or Kranko or the Fakehurst King, any of those. But anyhow, this is one of my favorites. Kaalia, though, is not subtle. I mentioned that last time I talked about it. When you see her coming, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to put lots of creatures on the board and kill you with them. Smash face. It's tough to get the second, third opponent out that way because as soon as one person's removed, suddenly you became the major threat and everybody turns on you. This deck also represents something else that I appreciated from the White Wolf game system from Vampire the Masquerade. And that is the fact that you have nature and demeanor. In the role-playing sense, you have a way that your character is, and you have a way a character presents itself. In Magic, I believe the same thing is true. And while I often present myself as an aggro player, I think inside there is a control player just waiting to play. And that's how I win with Kaalia at this point, control. And how do I control the board? Like this. First of all, thanks to Enrique for that cool altar of Kaalia. But this is how I control the deck. I control the game. I control the battlefield. That's right. Count them up. There is a grand total of 11 board wipes in this. So I'm not going to talk about every single one of these. I'm just flashing through it. This whole deck list is on tappedout.net, so you can see that there. But I'd like you to look at it, peruse it at your convenience, and give me 5 suggestions of cards you see in here that don't belong in here. I'm going to flash through the rest of the cards and talk about maybe 5 or 10 of the ones that I find that nobody else is using. And maybe that's with good reason, maybe not. But anyhow, that's how I control the battlefield. I clear it, and I put my creatures out. You need to be able to protect Kaalia, though. To do that, I have the obvious Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and some other fun cards to make things interesting and challenging for people. So like I said, I'm just going to zip through these, give you a glance at them, see if there's anything that you recognize off the top of your head that doesn't belong there. And we'll go back and I'll maybe choose, like I said, half a dozen of them. I gotta say, more than once, that Ruined Halo has helped me immensely, say against Nekozar deck. Sorry about that, Enrique. Anyhow, we're now on to the sorceries. And we're talking about removal. We have single removal, but one of the things to keep in mind, and just a general sense of playing this deck, don't play this deck at the end of the evening. Those 11 board wipes means you're making 3 other enemies at the table. And so a lot of times players will get upset if at the end of the game or the end of the night you're suddenly wiping the board and setting them back to game 1 or square 1 or turn 1, however you want to look at it. So I play from that strategic point also of making a plan as to how I'm going to approach the night. I will often lead with this deck. And then I will make it a point to play something that is absolutely, completely, utter, I don't want to say jank, but I want to say would appear to be complete garbage. To make sure that I'm not perceived as a threat anymore. Like I said, this may set people off to a bad mood. I'm hopefully not taking off the play group that much. But like I said, I don't want them to see me as a threat for the rest of the night. So by playing this, then deliberately going to something more political, more fun, more a group hug, sometimes makes all the difference as to how the rest of that night's going to go for me and for everybody else at the table. I'm almost there. We're through the let's try that again. We're through the demons, now on to the dragons. Just a few. Now some of these maybe don't serve enough of a purpose, so I'd like you to share with me cards you see that you feel right off the bat don't belong. And then after that, I'll pull out some of the cards and talk about how they get played. Now at this point, we're on to the lands. First thing I tried to improve is in a lot of my decks, there were more than 10 or so lands that come into play tapped. You can't afford that in Commander. By turn 10, somebody's usually winning the game. The fact that a third or a quarter of your land are going to come into play tapped, you just can't afford that. So one of the easiest ways that I upgrade my decks then, of course, is to work on that mana base and get those things sorted out. So a variety of lands, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but at this point, I think we've got the point. Everything else is basic from here on out. So let's maybe take a second just to look at 4 or 5 cards that I think are good. So I mentioned the fact that your cards need to have haste. Did I mention that already? Maybe not. One of the things is that people see Kaalia coming, so it's important to be able to give your cards haste to maybe sneak attack them onto the board. One of my favorites, however, though, is anger. And one of the favorite ways of getting anger is by Entomb. It's a handy little combo that can go off early in the game and set me up for future strike. Other cards, man, I am just hitting everything, aren't I? Other cards, such as Purphoros and Urabrask, the Hidden. Obviously, these aren't new cards. These aren't cards that people have never seen before. But I think they're a fun and effective way to get things done. Stoneshaker Shaman is another one of my favorites just because it limits other people's play by forcing them to tap down their lands. Another one that's in addition to the deck is Runetail. The fact that you can flip him when he has 30, when you have 30 life, and he can prevent all damage to creatures you control. Very effective. Having a hidden tutor that you can flash in with haste or flash in with Kaalia. Very valuable. I talked about the fact that having 11 board wipes in there was important. One of the other fun things that I like to do is, if I can spare that extra mana, is Faith's Reward to bring some of my stuff back to the board. Approach of the Second Sun. There's my Stealth and Guile for the deck. There's my win out of nowhere. Almost out of nowhere. One other card that I think gets overlooked by a lot of people, at least it feels like to me, maybe you've got a better reason, you can leave it in the comments why I shouldn't be using this card. But I think Crumbling Visage is a great card. It gives you the color you need when you need it. It comes into play tapped, but you still get the mana that you need that one time. And after that, I find myself in more situations where I wish I had a colored mana than I'm worried about having a colorless mana on the next turn. Does that make any sense? I don't know. one other card that is probably my favorite, quite simply, Dawn Charm. I remember when I first got that card, I'm sure I heard about it on Command Zone or somewhere like that. And the first time I got the card and actually got to play it, I realized that I lost the game, but I swear to God, I felt like a winner when I got a chance to play that. Just for a white counterspell for a single white mana was beautiful. Not a counterspell per se, but the fact that I was able to counter a target spell that targeted me meant that one fireball, that one drain life, whatever it was that they were about to unload on me meant, oh, not this time. So anyhow, that's a look at the cards that I have in the deck. Peruse the deck list, if you will. Give me 5 cards from the new set that should be in here. Maybe 10 cards. I don't know. I mentioned in previous videos the fact that I tend to be one of those good stuff players, or had to this point had been, barring the last year, had been one of those good stuff players that was just jamming in cards because I had them. At this point, I'm making the effort to play a better and smarter game, and I think over the past year I have done that, and I want to continue to do that. My decks are I rate it maybe a 5 or a 6. Well, there may be a 6 or a 7, but since I'm playing them, I take it down a notch. Anyhow, enough about that. Give me any comments that you have, any suggestions. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And as always, thanks for spending a few minutes with me here at Temple's Apprentice.